The Nintendo 2DS was, in some ways, an expected arrival for Nintendo's popular 3DS handheld. Nintendo threw everyone a curveball with its arrival, as nobody expected Nintendo to strip out the 3DS's headline feature and clamshell design for this mid-generation refresh. Yes, that's right, as its name implies, the Nintendo 2DS eschews the 3DS 3D technology in favor of a more traditional handheld gaming experience. Apart from its wedge design, this is as true a DS Lite successor as you'll find, and it's perfect for younger kids. Since its 2013 release, Nintendo has updated the 2DS with the new Nintendo 2DS XL. Not only does this larger screen 2DS handheld feature the same clamshell design as its 3DS counterparts, it's crammed with all the technology found in the more powerful new 3DS and new 3DS XL. Deal update, only £69 for the Nintendo 2DS with Super Mario Bros. 2. This is the lowest price we've yet seen for the special edition bundle of the Nintendo 2DS, which comes with the new Super Mario Bros. 2 game pre-installed. The term "new" may be a misnomer, given that the game was released for the 2DS and 3DS in 2012. Nevertheless, it feels as fresh as ever, and the same can be said of the 2DS console itself. People may have abandoned the platform for the more versatile Nintendo Switch, but there are still years of fun to be had with the 2DS, and now that the console and its games are cheaper than ever before, it's the best time to scoop them up. AO's deal price of £69 is a rarity for this 2DS console bundle, as it usually goes for around £90 to £100 and is often sold out on sites like Amazon. Pick up the 2DS plus new Super Mario Bros. 2 bundle now, or read the rest of our review to find out exactly why you should buy the Nintendo 2DS with new Super Mario Bros. 2 from now. Below you can read our original review of the Nintendo 2DS, £56. Buy now. Read next, Best New 3DS and 2DS Games, Nintendo 2DS Review, Design Video of Nintendo 2DS, Overview Trailer, Nintendo 3DS. The loss of the clamshell hinge will come as a blow to fans of the original 3DS design, but its new wedge shape is surprisingly comfortable to use. The bottom corners sit snugly in the center of your palms, and the circle pad and ABXY buttons are perfectly positioned to lie directly underneath your thumb. Likewise, the trigger buttons are now much easier to reach than before, as they lie more naturally underneath your index fingers compared to the cramp-inducing shape of the original 3DS. Admittedly, the matte plastic chassis is a far cry from the sleek contours of Nintendo's previous budget handheld, the gorgeous DS Lite, but it's far more suited to being thrown around in a backpack than other members of the 3DS family. I always thought the 3DS was a little fragile to carry around without a case, but I have no such qualms about the 2DS's tough exterior. £56. Buy now. Nintendo 2DS Review, Screens in the thread of durability. The 2DS top screen is protected by a tough plastic cover that sits flush to the console. The only vulnerable part of the 2DS then is the lower touch screen. This has to be left exposed in order to use it, but special cases are available. £10 from Amazon, if you're worried about it getting scratched. Losing the clamshell also means there's no lid to automatically put the console into sleep mode, so Nintendo's included a new slider on the bottom right corner of the console to turn the screens off if you have to stop mid-game. It doesn't quite match the convenience of snapping the lid shut on the 3DS, but it's a decent workaround. Otherwise, the 2DS is very similar to its 3D counterparts. It has the same screen dimensions and resolution as the original 3DS, 800 by 240 on the top 3.53 inches screen and 320 by 240 on the lower 3 inches touchscreen, so games play exactly the same on each one, and it's backwards compatible with Nintendo's entire DS catalog as well. With no hinge to get in the way, there's now a smaller gap between the two displays, plus the circle pad, D-pad and ABXY buttons have all been elevated to the center of the console. The Start and Select buttons now have their own dedicated buttons as well on the right-hand side above the power button, while the home button remains in the center along the bottom. Sadly, the 2DS only has one speaker compared to the stereo speakers found on the 3DS and 3DS XL, but you can still get stereo sound by plugging in a pair of headphones. The stylus is located to the right, mirroring its position on the 3DS XL. It's a little slimmer and taller than the 3DS XL stylus, making it a little easier and more comfortable to hold, but it doesn't quite match the full height of the extending 3DS stylus. Nintendo 2DS review. Camera. Oddly, the 2DS still has the 3DS's twin 0.3 megapixel cameras on the outside of the lid. This means you can still take 3D photos, but you'll only be able to view them in 3D if you export them to another 3DS or 3DS XL. The camera on the inside of the 2DS hasn't changed either, so you can still take amusing self-portraits and doodle on them afterwards. The built-in gyroscopes come into their own on the 2DS, as there's no stereoscopic 3D sweet spot to worry about on the top screen. I didn't have to move my head along with the console when games like the pre-installed Face Raiders required us to look around my environment, and its viewing angles were excellent. It's still quite reflective to look at in meters in direct sunlight, but it's no worse than an ordinary 3DS. With number 3D to drain battery life due to the increased screen brightness required for the 3D effect, you'll also be able to play your games for longer between charges. I managed just over 5 hours of continuous play in Pokémon Y, but games that involve heavy use of the touch screen will drain it faster. Sadly, the 2DS doesn't come with a charging cradle like the original 3DS, but at least there's a power adapter included in the box. Bizarrely, 3DS XL owners had to buy this separately for around £7. Nintendo 2DS review. Wi-Fi, Miiverse, Street Pass and Spot Pass. Like the 3DS before it, the 2DS has built-in wireless, allowing you to play multiplayer games locally and online. There's also a web browser available on the main home screen, which you can jump into anytime, even when you're in the middle of playing a game. It's not particularly fast, but it's quite handy to have on hand if you want to quickly look something up while playing a game. The Wii U's Miiverse feature has also been added to Nintendo's handheld consoles. Provided you have a Nintendo Network ID, which you'll need if you want to buy any digital titles from the Nintendo eShop. Miiverse is Nintendo's Twitter-esque social network which lets you share screenshots and comments with other players around the world. Each community is tied to a specific game, but you can star your favorites so you don't lose track of them. I don't think the 2DS or 3DS's small screens work quite as well in Miiverse as the Wii U's gamepad, but the ability to draw your own doodles using the stylus instead of simply typing out comments is still one of my favorite features. The main reason why you'll want to leave wireless communications on, though, is for the 2DS's Street Pass and Spot Pass features. Spot Pass will automatically download new content when you connect to a wireless hotspot, such as new Nintendo Direct announcements, eShop offers or exclusive in-game content. Street Pass, on the other hand, will detect other 2DS and 3DS consoles when the console's in sleep mode and exchange information with other players. This ranges from Mii avatars which go on to populate your Mii Plaza to game-specific Street Pass content such as special items and ghost race track times from Mario Kart. A small light above the ABXY buttons will notify you when you've exchanged information, but you can always disable the wireless communication in the system settings if you prefer. £56 Buy now. Nintendo 2DS review. Home themes. If you don't like the 2DS's gray and white default home menu, you can now buy and download other Nintendo-themed home menus from the special Home eShop menu. Just tap the New Settings button in the top left corner of the home screen and hit Change Theme, and you'll be presented with a huge array of different colors and specially designed game wallpapers. There are a couple of free ones available, but most you'll have to buy, although at £1.79 for the most, so they'll hardly break the bank.